it's Doug from Rise Above Performance Training. Today I'm going to do a video for Awaken Alive article I wrote on squats. These would be kind of beginner guides to squats and squat variations using kettlebells. Now what I'm going to classify as a squat is just a weight where you're using constant hip movement. So some positions might be down low, kind of like a deadlift, but unlike a deadlift, we're not going to start dead from the floor and lift up, so I'm going to classify that as a squat. I'll give you a couple different variations, a couple variations within the variations, so let's get started. So the first one we're going to do is a very basic one that you can learn pretty easily, and it's just a low squat. So again, this one might be called a deadlift for some people, but we're going to take two bells and we're just going to sit into our squat. So I'm going to have my chest up, hips back, and I'm going to drop down. Could be also a suitcase squat as I'm holding two bells. So I'm just going to learn how to do a squat this way and come up. Now, you can make it a little more challenging with one bell. Because of the unevenness, my core has to engage and keep me centered, so I don't want to be pulled down here as I'm squatting or knees buckling. So I got to be really tight, good grip, drop down, pause, come up. So you can do those two versions. The next version, as Dan John coined, will be the goblet squat. A goblet squat is basically holding the bell into this kind of goblet or chalice position. You're going to keep it up high. I like to tuck my elbows underneath and kind of make a little shelf for the bell. If you're too low, it's going to pull you forward around your back. So I'm going to keep this up. I'm going to keep it up high, and I'm going to do my squat. So again, my chest isn't falling forward. I'm trying to keep upright as much as I can and doing the squat. And you can change these variations as well. You can do a bottoms up version, a little bit harder because the weight's a little higher. Going to pull you a little bit more. That's just a variation. The other classic one, after you build those two up, will be the front squat. Traditionally, it's done with two kettlebells. So I'm going to clean these up. You can have your fingers together or just hands close together. You can have different cast iron bells too, which would be a little bit less bulky and be able to sit in this kind of front rack a little bit better. But again, we want to be centered over our chest here. I want to lock my elbows in and just kind of build a nice shelf for these weights. My elbows are tucked in right now, but as I squat, they may pop away from my body, but I'm not dropping the bells forward. I'm keeping them in and driving them up. So again, I'm trying to keep them close, a little pause, and come up. This is a little bit challenging because it's going to move you around with that weight. So again, learn how to engage your core, keep your body upright. Another version of that front squat is the single kettlebell front squat. And the kettlebells are nice because barbells, obviously you only have the weight on both sides. You can't really vary it too much. Kettlebells, you can do single side and change the exercise slightly. So again, I'm going to drop down. I don't want this weight pulling me to the side. I want to just stay right over the center, keeping my legs centered and not buckled. Now, if you're at home, and let's say you don't have sets of kettlebells, you can even do them unevenly. For years when I started off with kettlebells, I didn't have sets of kettlebells, I had different weights. So I would just perform uneven squats. So this weight is a little heavier. And then I would do a set, 5 or 6, and then I'd switch, and that engages the core just a little bit more. All right, now we'll get into a little more unconventional side of squatting. This is an elevated squat. The elevated squat is going to allow you to get a greater range of motion. I don't go particularly heavy myself on these, but I love it for hip mobility. So I get a nice light bell and I try to sink as low as I can. So you're going to need elevated platforms. You don't have to be this high, you just need a little bit more to clear. These are the options I have. You can use benches, you can use steps like those Reebok steppers, whatever you got around. So these are just two 12-inch, 18-inch boxes here that I made. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, again, kind of keep the bell low, and I'm going to do a kind of deadlift squat variation where I'm going to drop down. Now, if the floor was here, this is where I'd stop, but because the boxes are allowing me to drop lower, I'm able to really drop my hips down. I still want to keep my chest up and not round my back, so I'm kind of going where my mobility takes me. Dropping down low, get a nice stretch. I feel my hips warming up here. I'm pushing my knees out. as I'm going down. I like a little pause, keeping the tension at the bottom to kind of open up. So that's a elevated squat, give you a little more range of motion. All right, the final version of the squat, a little more unconventional, is going to be the hip belt squat version. So much like the elevated version, it's going to be the same thing. We're going to have that space between where we can drop pretty low so the belt can get low. But we got the hip belt this time, so any kind of weightlifting belt that you use for pull-ups will work well. This is a good kind of classic exercise that powerlifters use a lot to really get those hips in there. So what we're going to do is we're going to set up the belt and we're going to drop low. I can use my hands for counterbalance. That's what's pretty nice about it. But it's going to take a lot of core control to keep that belt from swinging. And I'm really going to try to drop low. Squeeze and come up. Push back. Get as low as I can comfortably by maintaining position. Coming up. Dropping down. And there you have it. So you do a bunch of those, you will definitely feel your glutes tomorrow. So there's the squat variations with the kettlebells. Let me know what you think. Be sure to subscribe because I'm going to add more videos with squat variations down the road. Thanks a lot for watching. See you soon.